Hey there, it's Beejal, and we have another awesome case study. And there are times when you get to hire clients that you're kind of advising them on business, but then you sometimes will bring on a client that is a business mentor, and they can really give you advice on how to run a business. And Mike is one of those people. Mike, first of all, well, thank you so much for agreeing to share your case study with us. But let's start off
My,
with what is it that you actually do, the businesses you run, and then we'll get a little bit deeper into how you're using VAs in your business.
Actually, interesting. I have a couple of companies. I have an e-commerce business. I have another health and wellness business, and then I have my Savage Secrets business, which is basically what I do is I help overwhelmed entrepreneurs transform into confident CEOs. And all of my clients live in the $500,000 to $5 million world, and I call it the lonely zone. You don't have a board of advisors, you don't have a board of directors, you don't necessarily have a seasoned management team, and your bathroom mirrors your board of advisors. So it becomes challenging.
So, Mike, we actually did an event fairly recently where it was called Delegate or Drown. And obviously, you are a huge fan of the concept of delegation, right? I mean, you've built multiple businesses. So just kind of let's roll back a little bit. Let's talk about delegation in general. I personally believe now, having struggled as an entrepreneur, not understanding delegation, that one should even step into the world of entrepreneurship or call themselves a business owner until they fully grasp the concept of delegation. But you've got far more experience than me. Tell me, how critical is it that people master this art of delegation?
Honestly, it's only important if your vision or your goals for your company are to grow. Now, there's plenty of solopreneurs out there that, they might be selling stuff at a fair or a bazaar or a yard sale or something like that, and it's just them, and they don't care. But it's when you find that entrepreneur who has aspirations to grow, and when they have those aspirations to grow, you eventually run out of time. And so I always say that as an entrepreneur, you can hustle your way to a certain point in business, just sheer hard work and a bunch of hours. And I usually find people in the hustle zone, they'll maybe be able to build a business $250,000, $500,000 at the high end. But after that, you can't do everything. There's not enough time in the day. And so you have to accept the fact that your greatest commodity is your time. As the entrepreneur, the founder of a business, your greatest commodity is your time. And so when there are things that you are doing that are, especially I think the very first hire everyone should make is an executive assistant, a virtual assistant, because there are tasks that they can take off of your plate, and your business, your company is great at helping founders and CEOs and entrepreneurs find these executive assistants. But once you find that, once you take a look at all the stuff you're doing in a day in and day out basis and realize it can be delegated to someone else, it frees up your time. The benefit of that is you now get to focus on building your company. The old saying, working on your business versus in your business. You get to work on your business. You need to start being strategic. So delegation is a learned art. It is not easy for someone who's just starting their first company or even at a certain point, but you have to break through your comfort zone and squash the fear of delegation, because it is, quite frankly, the only way that you can grow a company.
Okay, thank you. Now, you have several VAs. One of the VAs is from us. Let's talk about, what do the VAs do for you day to day? Like, how are they integrated into your business? And we use the word VAs. Personally, for me, they're team members, right? And we use the word VAs because that's what the industry uses for them. But once they join the team, to me, they are just invaluable team members. How are your VAs/team members helping you in the businesses that you're running?
Yeah, let me touch on the first thing. I'm not a fan of the word virtual assistant either. To me, they are employees on my team. They are team members just like any other employee. They are part of our regular weekly conference calls. They are part of our sales calls. They're part of our marketing team efforts. They're part of our operations. They're involved in analytics and studying and in collecting data and analyzing and reporting. They're as valuable as any other company. I've had companies with 50, 60 employees, and whether they're virtual or whether they're in the office, it's the same thing. They're part of the team, like you said. And so the things that we use VAs for, like I said, a couple different companies. So one of them does inventory management and analytics for a business we have on Amazon. We have virtual assistants, executive assistants that are doing basically all of Mike's stuff. They make me better. So they're watching out for me, making sure I don't screw things up, making sure I don't get involved in things I shouldn't, making sure I remember to do things that I should be doing. Because when you're running a company, you're not necessarily focused as much on the specifics and the details. So you need a team of people that can help you get there. We have people in marketing and video production and all those different areas, sales outreach, client research. They do so many different things for our organization that I can't even fathom running a company anymore without having team members like this. I'm in 100% agreement. They are team members. They have goals and objectives. They have performance reviews. They have all the same stuff that any other employee would have.
Thank you. Advice on how to manage, let's roll back the clock when you kind of hired your first overseas team member, virtual assistant. Advice can you share for someone who's like thinking about hiring their first VA? And the second question is, now that you actually have a team of VAs, some key principles that help you manage the VAs, keep them on track, but also in general, obviously you run multiple successful businesses, and people who are stepping into the world of delegation, one of the biggest fears is, how am I going to manage my team member?
Yeah, well, so let me touch on the first one. Like when I deal with I work with CEOs running businesses, and I'm always telling them if they're hiring people, whether they're hiring a VP of operations or a controller or a sales manager, they have the option of going to Indeed or going to some of these other job sites to find people. But I always recommend, please use a staffing agency. Now, for example, if you're on a hire $100,000 a year employee, $200,000 a year employee, you could pay 20% to that staffing agency to help you find the ideal employee. When it comes to VAs, and this is what I love so much about your business, when it comes to VAs, you really don't know what you're getting. And everybody can, from a marketing perspective, everybody does everything. To have a team that is able to evaluate the VAs and make sure they're a good fit for your organization is essential. So if you can go on to the internet and find VA for hire, and that's great, but you don't know what you're getting. And so when they use an organization like yours, to me, it is a very smart business decision from an executive standpoint, from a CEO, from a founder, from an entrepreneur standpoint, because you could spend all the time out there doing the research and trying to find the right people, or you could have an expert do the work for you and save you the greatest commodity in the world, which is time. So does it cost a little bit of money? Yes, it does. But in the same fashion that I always recommend to my clients, the people that are in my mastermind groups, don't go try and hire someone on your own. Always use a staffing agency. They cost money, but they save time. In the big picture, your time is so worthwhile. When you're running a business, your time is the greatest commodity, and don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Your time being the greatest commodity. So when you're going to hire that first VA, or you're going to hire a handful of VAs to go through an organization like yours, is the smartest thing that any entrepreneur could do. Because going out on your own and trying to learn on your own and making mistakes, like trial and error, is not a sound business principle. Now, you're going to fail, you're going to screw up in life, and you're going to screw up in business. But if you have the opportunity to learn from someone else's experience, you save. I always say, this is my saying whenever I'm doing a speech, there's only two ways to learn things in life: your experience or someone else's. And when you learn on your own, it hurts more, it costs more, and it takes longer.
Absolutely. So now that they've hired the first VA, there's some key management advice in terms of managing a remote team, whether they're in the Philippines or whether they're in the next neighborhood. What's some of your wisdom from that? Obviously, we have a little bit of time here. Just some key things that you think would stand out.
Yeah, ultimately, it's communication. There has to be goals set for your team members in the same way that you'd set goals for anyone, even if they were domestic or co-located. Got to be involved in understanding where the company's going. Got to be involved in understanding the players on the team, because The world is so small right now because of things like Zoom and our ability to communicate that it is essential to set goals, to manage to those goals, to share your vision with your team. There is nothing more important than making sure that your team understanding what the direction of the company is, and also understanding the other players on the team and understanding what their responsibilities are.
Awesome. Thank you. Mike, if you had to encapsulate everything you just said in a 60-second soundbite in terms of advice for somebody who's thinking about hiring a VA for the very first time, go for it.
You cannot grow unless you have people on your team. Simple. It's like, if you want to be a solopreneur, great, no problem. If you are looking to grow, you need people on your team. And every that I ever talk to, I say the very first hire has got to be an executive assistant. I have a tool that I use with all of my clients called the activity audit, where you go through and you list all the activities that you have that you do. And then you have to say, what are the ones that I can delegate? And delegation, oftentimes, if you've never done it before, is fearful. If hiring a virtual assistant from the Philippines, if you've never done it, it's fearful. That's why I love Be Epic and all the things that you do, Beejal, because I just think it makes such incredibly smart, sound sense for any entrepreneur that's trying to get to the next level, to get those people on board, squash fear, squash comfort zone, and just make the move.
Awesome. I think there's no better way to end this quick interview. Mike, again, thanks so much. Love your wisdom, your insights in growing a business, and I wish you much success into the future. Bye for now.
My pleasure.
Awesome.